Hi, this is Gary with MACMOST.com. Let me show you 5 different ways that you could easily generate random numbers on your Mac. MACMOST is brought to you thanks to a great group of more than 1,000 supporters. Go to MACMOST.com/Patreon. There you could read more about the Patreon campaign, join us, and get exclusive content and course discounts. So if you need to generate a random number on your Mac very quickly, there are several different ways to do it. Let's start off with the Calculator app. This app built into your Mac doesn't seem to have any random number function here. But if you go to View and then switch to Scientific Calculator, then there's a Rand button right here. If you click it, you get a random number between 0 and 1. So if you need to have something more specific, like say between 1 and 6, then what you would do is generate the random number, multiply by that number, say 6, and then of course you have to add 1 because technically this is between 0 and 5. So in this case it would be 4. Or I could just add 1 like that and see the 4 there. Now of course you can use the Mac spreadsheet app Numbers to do this. You can also use another spreadsheet app if you like. The way to do it here in Numbers is use one of 2 functions. So if I use the rand function, I actually get a random number between 0 and 1, just like with Calculator. But what's more useful is using the rand between function. And this gives you 2 parameters, the lower and upper limits. So I can do 1 to 6 and I get a random number between 1 and 6. Now anytime I change something in the spreadsheet, it regenerates this. So if I were to put just a number here like 0, notice how it changes there. An easy way to do this is to put a checkbox cell. So I'm going to select that cell, go to Cell, Data Format, change to Checkbox, and now I have a checkbox here. If I check it or uncheck it, it will force the random numbers to regenerate. If I need many random numbers, I could copy and then say paste this into many cells, and then anytime I check this, you could see it regenerates all of them. If I ever want to generate them and then have them stay the same no matter what I change, you could always select all of those cells, go to Copy, and then go back to Edit and go to Paste Formula Results. And this changes it from a formula to the actual number. So this is actually a 4, 1, 1, 5, etc. No matter how many times I change other cells, these numbers are permanent now. Now perhaps the easiest way to generate a random number is use Siri. I'll activate Siri here. You can use the keyboard shortcut or speak to activate it. Give me a random number.
The answer is 41.
So you can see how it generates a random number between 0 and 100 when you ask it this way. But you can also ask for a specific range. Give me a random number between 1 and 6.
The answer is 1.
Another cool thing you could do with Siri is just have it flip a coin for you. Flip a coin.
Heads.
Now as you can imagine, you can use Terminal to do this. There are a couple of ways. If you're an experienced Terminal user, you may know that there is a random function that you can use like this. Echo will just print out the result of this. So $random will give me a value. It turns out it's between 0 and 32,767. So if you wanted it to be between something more specific like say 1 and 6, you could do echo and then you need double parentheses here and you could do random and then divide by this number. And this will give you 0 all the time because it's always going to round down. But if I were to then multiply by the range I wanted, so multiply by 6, that would then give me a number between 0 and 5 plus 1 like that now gives me a number between 1 and 6. So I can hit return and get 3. I can of course easily repeat a command in Terminal with up arrow to bring up the last command, return to try again, so I can keep going. I think a better way to do it in Terminal is to use the jot command. And the jot command with -R for random will give you a random number and you can say how many numbers you want. So 1 and let's say between 1 and 6. So I get 3 and I can keep doing that. But I could also change this and it'll give me 10 numbers now between 1 and 6. And of course now you could easily copy and paste this somewhere if you need it. So finally let's create a shortcut in the Shortcuts app to do this. So I'll create a new one here and I'll search for random and of course I will come up with random number. I'll drag that over here, random number between 1 and 6. I could actually run it here in Shortcuts and it'll show the result here. Let's give it a name. There's even a very appropriate icon for this. right here. And let's output it. We could use quick look to output the result, but instead let's use alert. It's a little bit more compact. Drop it here. I will erase what's in here and control click it. Do insert variable, select the result of this. And I can see it's linked together. So now when I run it, it'll show the result here. I could also, if I wanted, instead of show alert, I could use copy to clipboard to just run it and then get that random number in the clipboard. Let's go to settings here. I'll say pin in menu bar. So now I can run it from here anytime I want. I could also say add keyboard shortcut. Now let's do Shift Option Command R. And you can see that's automatically going to add it to the services menu. So if I look under services here, I'll see it. I'll run it the first time this way. And I find once you do that, it usually works as a keyboard shortcut. So anytime I want, I just use that keyboard shortcut and I get a random number. So there's a bunch of different ways you can do it. As you can see, you can highly customize the range that the numbers use. You can even build out the shortcut to ask you for the lower and higher end of that range and put that into the random function. Or you could even have it just have you select from a menu. Say for using die of different number of sides like 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, or 20. Hope you found this useful. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, click the thumbs up button below to let me know. I publish new tutorials each weekday. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out.